Hello, my lovelies! This is Jenny from Jenny's Fun Facts. We just want to take a moment to thank you so much, P Eats Meal Preps, for sponsoring our episodes. New menu out every Friday, ordered by Sunday, delivered fresh by Tuesday, and guess what? They deliver to all Montreal surrounding areas as well. Healthy, fresh, and delivered to your door for free. Add them and our podcast on Instagram at p.eats_P as in Peter, R-E-P as in Peter, S. Thanks, P Eats Meal Preps.
Welcome to Noon Hour Out of the Box, episode 27. Thank you all for tuning in. Your constant love and support is so appreciated by Robert and myself. A huge thank you to Jenny Duhame, who is our producer and makes all this happen. And a very, very special thank you to my co-host and mentor, Mr. Robert D'Alessio. How are you?
I'm totally excited. What else is new? I love being here. I said, this is a great way to spend part of my afternoon with some amazing people, yourself, with Jenny, and we have a guest standing by who's going to be joining us at about 12:10 into the show. We also
Very exciting, yes.
We have some exciting news indeed. Yes, when you were saying exciting, we have our sponsor is going to be giving away a free meal. That's P Eats Meals Prep. He's going to be giving away a free meal. So a little bit later into the show, we're going to be asking a very simple question. Very, very simple answer. It's not mathematical. There's no calculations. So simple. We're going to put you into the draw of the people who answered, and you can win an amazing meal by P Eats Meal Prep, and they will deliver that meal to your door, provided you're within the greater Montreal area, because we can't be delivering this food to Australia or California.
No.
By the time it gets there, it's going to be cold.
Yeah, it's not possible. And their food is absolutely amazing. I've had several meals by them, so I highly, highly recommend their service. So, Robert, you know, we were reminiscing earlier backstage about how this all started. And I remember back in February of 2021 when I started this journey, and how before each show, I would tremble with fear to go live on air. And it took many, many episodes to actually start feeling comfortable. And I had a total physical reaction to it. I would literally shake. I would feel unwell. My vision would be affected. It was a very strange phenomenon. And I had never felt that before. So I came to realize that, in fact, I was experiencing performance anxiety. What about yourself? Have you experienced this phenomenon yourself?
Experience that you're talking about. I mean, if you combine Rob's Inner Circle that I host every Monday and Noon Hour at the Box I host with you, that's about 2 years worth of broadcasting. And, you know, we go through our stuff and all that. We're prepared, but it just doesn't go away. I have stage fright every time I come on. My palms are very sweaty right now. It's going to take a little while to get into the blend. My feet are sweaty. I've got 1,000 square feet here in the condo. I could actually mop the floor for how sweaty my feet are. It's crazy. And before I come on live, let's say maybe an hour or two, I get this angst building up. It is so bad. It's like I get stomach cramps, and it's as if I want to restituate. Is that a nice word for vomit?
Yeah, it's a word that I never heard of, but that's interesting.
Well, that's translated from Italian anyway.
Okay. Yeah. So it's much more common than we think. I did a little bit of research, and apparently women experience it more than men, but I think it's just because during the survey, men were not as forthright about how they feel about it. And I'm pretty sure it's pretty equal between both genders. So, Robert, what is performance anxiety?
Just letting you know that all the men were sleeping when they had the survey. So that's
okay. That could be. You're right.
So let's get on here with the show. What is performance anxiety? Well, there are two types of people in the world. It's those who love performing in public and those who are scared stiff at the thought of it. Performance anxiety and stage fright are perfectly normal phenomena that occur to many people. Stage fright or performance anxiety is a persistent phobia which is aroused in an individual when required to perform in front of an audience.
So, what happens during performance anxiety? Someone might have performance anxiety in the days, weeks, or months leading up to the performance. Just before going on stage, they may feel tense, fidgety, or lightheaded. Their hands or voice might shake as well. Their heart might pound faster, and they may even sweat more. They may have experienced some gastrointestinal symptoms as well, rather like nausea and stomach pain. And this is quite common in this type of social anxiety.
Have you been reading my mind or what? That is exactly what I am going through right now.
Nah, you're doing great. You're doing great.
All right. So, what causes a stage fright? Well, it's the fear of speaking or performing in public is often driven by embarrassment or worry over how someone will be perceived and judged by others. It can be impacted by a variety of factors, including how well the performer knows their material, the size of the audience, whether audience members are friends and family or strangers.
So again, let's go over some of the performance anxiety symptoms. So they may include racing pulse and rapid breathing, dry mouth and tight throat, trembling hands, knees, lips, and voice, sweaty and cold hands, nausea and uneasy feelings in your stomach, and like I said earlier in the show, vision changes, which is very interesting.
How to overcome performance anxiety or stage fright? Well, you got to know your stuff.
Yes.
You got to practice, and practice some more. Talk yourself down, wallow in the worst, visualize the outcome. It is not all about you. When things go wrong, keep calm, don't rush it. Focus on getting through the first 5 minutes. I'm okay now. Never apologize for being nervous. Don't share your mistakes.
Important, very important.
Arrive early.
Yes.
Stretch like I did backstage as the introduction was playing.
Always, we both do it.
Yeah, when you're speaking, I actually have a chance to do that. I breathe and I double check everything. And don't fight your stage fright. Work with it, actually.
So what's so interesting is that a lot of performers and celebrities have come forth with their own experience with stage fright. So for instance, Adele admits to being terrified of huge audiences and I've seen this in several sources, has even vomited on stage because she gets so darn nervous. Yes.
Okay, and look at this one. Is this a shocker for you or what?
No. Well-known fact about Barbra Streisand and her stage fright.
Barbra Streisand, during a 1967 performance, she forgot the lyrics to a song she was singing. She ended up taking a 30-year hiatus due to the stage fright she encountered during that particular performance.
So fascinating. And in fact, even Beyonce is without a doubt, as we know, one of the biggest names in the entertainment industry. And this iconic singer once created an alter ego called Sasha Fierce, and she uses this ego to overcome her stage fright. So that's another way to cope with that type of phenomenon. Yes,
that's pretty amazing. So Esther, it is time for our skill testing questions to earn that meal by the gracious folks at P Eats Meals Prep. So folks, here's the question that we need for you to answer in order for you to be able to win this meal. So, folks, tell us, what is the ideal lunch to have at lunch hour? That's all the question is. First person to answer is going to be put into the draw with you. The rest of you will be picking out the winner, and we'll be letting you know who the winner is next week. And don't forget, they deliver within a 50-kilometer radius. It's in the greater Montreal area. So, folks, good luck, and let us know what is happening with your answer. Esther, I believe we have someone really special to bring on the show.
Yes, so about a week ago, this gentleman put a post on Facebook where he was very transparent and spoke about his own experience with performance anxiety. His name is Matthew Larkin. He is a professional organist and conductor. Let's bring him on. Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Great. We're doing great. You know, we love that you were so transparent about your own experience with stage fright, aka performance anxiety. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it and why you put it out there?
I put it out there because it's just been something that's been on my mind lately. Not that I've necessarily been affected by it recently, but there have been times within the last few years where it's just something that's popped up when I've been performing, and it comes out of the blue. I don't expect it, and all of a sudden I'm undergoing it. And what really brought it to mind for me in terms of defining the condition was about 4 years ago, I was reading a music magazine that was interviewing a colleague of mine, a very prominent one, who described their experiences with stage fright, during a performance that was very sudden and completely unexpected, and that morphed from one stage to the next over the course of a period of time. And as I was reading that interview, I was amazed because it defined for me an experience or some experiences that I had had. And when I sort of look back on it rationally now, I think about, what I was kind of going through as a professional at the time, where I went through a year or two, maybe longer, where I didn't have my self-assurance in the way that I was accustomed to. I didn't have my self-confidence in the way that I always had. And when you don't feel as good about yourself, then it's almost like you're expecting something to go wrong. It's not a matter of if, it really becomes like a certainty, which of course, becomes a foregone conclusion at that stage because you're waiting for something bad to happen, and so it probably will. That was my experience of it. And from time to time, after performing for well over 30 years professionally in a lot of different situations, in a lot of different places in the world, and almost never being nervous, no matter what. The bigger the stage, the more the people, the more complex the work, the more exposure, the better I felt. And all of a sudden, some of the smallest things, the most familiar things, became so kind of filled with anxiety that that just really struck me. So from time to time, I think about that. And it's not necessarily a firsthand experience which prompts me to think about it. But, I know that I'm not alone in this. And the reason for my post the other day was that it had been on my mind for some days. And I thought, I'm thinking about it. And when I do post, I normally post about stuff that I'm thinking about. And since I was thinking about that, I posted. And I put some context around it in the hopes that other people might read it and go, oh, yeah, that happened to me. That's exactly, how it came to me by way of a definition when I read the interview with this colleague some years ago. So I put it out there, just people can relate, and maybe they want to share their experience of it. And we all just collectively, as a community, benefit from people, being honest and sharing. So that was my motivation.
That's wonderful. It actually inspired the show. So I'm curious as to what sort of techniques you use to calm yourself and try to avoid that anxiety.
Well, for me, I don't go into a situation expecting to be anxious. It's not an expectation I have, and I'm really thankful to be able to say that it's not a condition that's been endemic for me as it has been for some other people. In the past, though, when I encountered people who had performance anxiety, if I was, working with them, or they were people who were performing when I was conducting, or if they were singing or playing an instrument while I was accompanying, and I could sense that they were nervous, or I could sense that they were, hesitant, you make a lot of assumptions about people. Like, why can't they get it together? Or maybe they're not prepared, or, and it's true, there are people who just don't show up prepared. There are some of those people in the professional world. And, when you don't show up prepared, you take a lot of chances. Your talent, your natural ability will get you so far, but a lack of preparation kind of increases the percentage chance that something might be flawed in the performance. So being prepared is an excellent way to give yourself the best chance. I mean, that's an easy thing to say. That sounds obvious, but not every professional actually follows that advice, including myself. And I've been very guilty of it numerous times. So I'm not sitting in judgment of anybody else. It's just that's sometimes what can happen. But you make assumptions about what might be up with somebody who doesn't sound or look comfortable up there, and you can never really know. It's just like anything else. When you read a story about somebody in the newspaper, you'll see a headline, you'll see a byline. The first paragraph, you kind of know what it's about in a general way, but you don't really know the whole story, no matter how
Yes.
cut and dried it appears to be. And it's the same thing in your relationships with people. So to answer your question, no, I don't go into a situation expecting to be anxious. That's true 99% of the time. However, if I do encounter it, I've got to talk myself off the ledge, in the sense that, yeah, you can do this. You've done the preparatory work. You've been in a lot of stressful situations, as all performing situations can be. They can be stressful, not by definition, but stressful things can occur. If you're playing with other people and something goes awry, elsewhere in the ensemble, and you've got to make adjustments, you don't really have time to stress. Like you work on instinct. And so the biggest thing for me is trusting the instincts that I have, which I hope are good professional instincts. They've worked out most of the time. So I've got a reason to trust myself. And so I do. So that's the biggest thing for me is being prepared, finding a way to really access your inner confidence and stick with it. There are any number of instances where I've had to kick myself in the ass, like in the middle of the performance, like, why are you second guessing yourself in this difficult rhythmic passage?
Right.
One of the things that can happen with organists too is that, sometimes you can be a long way away from the rest of the performers. If you're in a large space where the most pipe organs aren't the kind of thing that you can kind of push around on stage. If they're in another end of the building, then you deal with the distance factor, which other instrumentalists don't. As I was saying to a friend the other day, like, they don't ask the second oboe player to go and sit in the balcony 200 feet away. That's not where they put the tenor section normally, right? So it's something that organists uniquely experience, and that introduces a whole other bunch of factors in that. Do you trust what you hear? If you have a good video feed, you can see what the conductor is conducting, but you see their baton moving, but you don't hear the sound happening at the same time the conductor does. So you've got to find that position in terms of the music making where you're dialed in to what's actually happening in real time, and that can throw a lot of people. I'm pretty experienced at it, but there's still times where I'm not fully committed to trusting what I'm hearing, and then you have to figure out, do I second guess, or do I follow what I have to trust to be true? So that's another thing. As a performer, you're asking yourself questions in the performance constantly, whether it's what am I hearing? What am I seeing? What does what I'm doing sound like to somebody else? Is the conductor happy or not happy? If I'm accompanying, is the is the person I'm collaborating with or the people I'm collaborating with supported by what I'm doing, or am I working against them without realizing or without trying to? But there's so many things. So you do have this ongoing conversation with yourself. And in any other conversation, it can go, as with any other conversation, it can go sideways at times. Like when you're talking with a friend and, you kind of say something, comes out wrong. The friend's like, hey, what was that? It's like you're having this conversation with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's like your inner self starts questioning your outer self, which can lead to hesitation.
Yes.
So I'm no neuroscientist, but it does seem to me that our biggest obstacle sometimes is ourselves, and to overcome that, it's like we, just like we're sitting down with someone that we trust, and with someone that you trust, you can say anything that you want that is meaningful and genuine, and there won't be negative consequences of it. So it's the same thing. You say to yourself that you've got to do the things that you've been trained to do, that you prepared to do, and that you can do.
Yes.
And then everything will be fine. And often too, the anxiety it's at the beginning of things, and if you can overcome that start, it's like when I watch a lot of sports, and I played a lot of sports at one time, and if you're the road team going into a home arena where the fans are going to be loud, and the opposing team's going to come hard the first 5 minutes of the first period, it's often you see the road team saying, well, we just got to get through that first 5 minutes, not take any dumb penalties, and then we can settle into our game, and then we'll be fine. And I find there are so many parallels between team sports and ensemble music making, or individual music making. Those parallels are very meaningful to me. And it really is that way. You just get through that first 5 minutes,
Yes.
and do what you need to do that. And then, hopefully things feel really good after that. And you're just sailing to the end. And then, there's no better feeling than completing a performance and feeling good about what you've done.
Absolutely.
Our guest is so amazing, Esther. I had a few questions and he answered everything.
Yes.
I'm at a question, and you know what? We're also out of time, unfortunately. But before we go and thank Matthew for coming on, we have two participants that shared with us what their ideal lunch would be, and one of them is Teresa Pachano. So she says ideal lunch would be a salmon, salad, and soup.
That's a good one.
And the other participant are two of our good friends here, Josa and Teresa. Well, Josa says the ideal lunch would be lentil soup, yummy, and a chicken sandwich wrap.
Yummy.
So congratulations to you both. Thank you so much for participating. We'll be putting your names in a draw, and good luck to both of you. Matthew Larkin, thank you so much for joining us. It was such a pleasure. It was enriching. Thank you. The audience was very captivated, as were we. Is there a possibility you might come back one day, Matthew?
Absolutely. Just send me word, and I'll be here.
Yes, we'd love to have you. Your insights were quite meaningful and accurate, so appreciative.
I've got to throw in my 2 cents about the lunch, too.
Yes.
And that is like a...
Yeah, but Matthew, just letting you know, unfortunately, you're not eligible. But
I know.
What you got to say.
No, you cleared that with me before, and I'm over it. But I still feel I should give an opinion, and that is that you can't go wrong with the fish. Can't.
Okay, you heard it here. Salmon it is.
There you go. Well, thank you so much, Matthew. Thank you, Esther, and thank you, everybody, for being part of our show. Join us next week, same time, same place. That's Wednesdays at noon here at noon hour, Out of the Box. Farewell. There goes the anxiety. Farewell for now.
Ciao.